Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we are going to be discussing a little bit about The Mandalorian Season 3 after it's now finished and wrapped up with its season finale a couple of weeks ago now. How does The Mandalorian Season 3 establish a new path for the franchise of Star Wars? And so really with what it means for how it set things up for going forward on Disney Plus and also in the theaters. And so in this video we are going to be taking a read from movieweb.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Now, as they read, the Star Wars franchise has been a bit of a directionless now for a while now, as the feature film side of the series and franchise has struggled to produce anything since Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker in 2019. The original series on Disney Plus have all been doing all of the heavy lifting, while The Mandalorian was undoubtedly a massive hit, and other shows like Andor and Obi-Wan Kenobi have provided fans with the quality Star Wars content that they've been looking for. It's all been in a strange state of limbo for a little bit of time. With really when and where are the Star Wars movies, I think is the big question that's being asked here. It is unclear where this was all going, as the brand as a whole has seemed to be stuck in a little bit of a rut. Thankfully now though, it does seem like the galaxy far, far away is finally getting back on track. At Star Wars Celebration in April last month, Lucasfilm did a lot of work to simplify their approach to the Star Wars franchise and give fans an idea of what to expect in the future. They recently did this by unveiling a coherent timeline of the galaxy, which provides an easy way to differentiate one project from another alongside with their different eras. On top of that, they unveiled 3 new Star Wars films, confirming and announcing them, which will each of them take their own individual approaches to furthering the breadth of the overall franchise. So rather than expanding it, going either forward or backwards, they're really kind of just filling in the gaps for the most part. And so while all of this is happening, the 3rd season of The Mandalorian was also in the middle of its run on Disney Plus. Although this season may not have been an universally beloved as the 2 that have preceded it, the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, it did do a lot of work to further establish this new direction of the overall Star Wars, and here's why exactly. For one thing, we have Thrawn coming in. One of the 3 films that was unveiled at Star Wars Celebration was a crossover finale of sorts of the MANDOVERSE, which will be directed by Star Wars guru and veteran Dave Filoni. This film will build on the stories of all of the live-action shows Filoni and Jon Favreau have been building in the aftermath of Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, that lead up to the events of the sequel trilogy. That means the events of The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, the upcoming series' Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew could all factor directly into this new movie, and honestly probably will. While little is actually known for certain about what this movie will actually be about completely, there are some solid guesses that can be made from what Filoni has said and what fans have already seen. And so really to get it right, Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie is more than likely going to be a depiction of the New Republic's war against the Imperial Remnants, led by Grand Admiral Thrawn. The character of Thrawn is a longtime fan favorite in the franchise, and his return to the galaxy has been consistently teased since his disappearance in the finale of the animated show Star Wars Rebels back in 2018. He was mentioned briefly in the 2nd season of The Mandalorian, but Season 3 spent a lot more time directly setting up his return. And so though Thrawn did not appear in this season of The Mandalorian, his right-hand man, Captain Gillard Pelarion, did make a surprise appearance towards the end of the season. Captain Pelarion appears in the Thrawn novels, so to see him making that jump to live action does set up a lot of things going forward for this overall character. And so when we see Moff Gideon meeting up with the Shadow Council to discuss the future of the Empire, Pelarion pushes hard for the group to await the return of Thrawn as a leadership figure, something that Moff Gideon is kind of going for. And although I haven't discussed it all that much here on the channel, I would like to make a separate future video here on the channel discussing it in more detail and go further into depth with it. I do believe that Moff Gideon is still out there. There's a number of different fan theories, of course, going around, but where I do lay right now is that I'm pretty sure that Moff Gideon will be back once again. This was a big moment for longtime Star Wars fans, as it was the first time that Captain Pelarion has appeared on screen. He first premiered alongside Thrawn in the book Heir to the Empire from the early 90s. That book in its two sequels, which centered on Thrawn's attempt to take over the galaxy, essentially served as a Star Wars Episode 7, 8, and 9, pretty much just the sequel trilogy before those movies had actually existed. Now, with Thrawn confirmed to play a central role in the Ahsoka series later this year, it appears that Filoni is building towards some kind of heir to the Empire adaptation in his film. The Shadow Council sequence in Season 3 of The Mandalorian is one of those first explicit indications of that story going forward. And so really, besides and beyond Thrawn and setting up for his stories, beyond setting up stories for other series and new films to build upon overall here as well, Season 3 of The Mandalorian also made the smart choice to take the series back to its roots. Pretty much a soft reboot is what we saw with The Mandalorian Season 3 in its finale. The second season of the show saw it grow much further beyond the Western-inspired approach of Season 1, as it had introduced all kinds of legacy characters like Bo-Katan Kryze, Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker, and Boba Fett. Season 3 had the difficult task of building on and up and continuing on with those stories that had been introduced in Season 2, while still keeping the core of the series intact, and then at the same time kind of concluding and putting an end to most of those stories. While some episodes certainly did this more effectively than others, the Season 3 of The Mandalorian eventually comes around to an ending that sets up a much simpler and streamlined Season 4 for what we can anticipate and expect to see in the future. Season 4 of The Mandalorian is expected and rumored around to be going into its pre-production and overall production later this year and early next year. Season 3 of The Mandalorian had a lot of fans perplexed overall, as the role of the titular Mandalorian seemed to shift away with every other episode, as more episodes had focused on other characters like Bo-Katan. Not that that's necessarily bad, I would love to see Bo-Katan have a show of her own maybe. Some episodes focused on the core character of Din Djarin, while other episodes had focused more on Bo-Katan or Grogu. It could be argued that all three of those characters were the Mandalorian at different points in the season. However, Season 3 and its finale pretty nicely tied up Bo-Katan's story by seeing her finally become the Mandalorian leader that she was always meant to be as she had led her people to retake their homeworld of Mandalore and had also defeat their enemy Moff Gideon. Following that, Din Djarin and Grogu are much freer to go on their own adventures in the galaxy. As I had mentioned, more of just a soft reboot, going back to the roots of just Grogu and the Mandalorian. The final shot of the finale of Season 3 of The Mandalorian shows two of them, of course, living on their own piece of land on the free planet of Navarro. They've made an agreement to serve as independent contractors for the New Republic, pretty much being just bounty hunters again, but more good, and for the New Republic, which will lead them to all sorts of different adventures to quash the rise of the Imperial remnants in the Outer Rim that we'll see in Season 4. This sets up a fourth season that can more closely focus on the two of them as they go from one job to another as bounty hunters with a good conscience. This will allow The Mandalorian to return to its roots and to be a simple show about a lone warrior and his child traveling from one settlement to another and helping where they can. That approach is what made people love The Mandalorian to begin with Season 1. Now that the show has passed off the broad world building of Star Wars to other shows like Ahsoka, The Mandalorian will finally be able to focus on the more straightforward and accessible storytelling that made the first season so great. This here overall article is just about everything that we're seeing with Star Wars into the regards of the Mandoverse, where it's going in the future, of how we saw that kind of soft reboot with The Mandalorian Season 3 and its finale, and everything that we know kind of so far with the Mandoverse movie being directed and written by Dave Filoni, and the overall forward direction that Star Wars is going with their movies as well. Seeing the rise of those, and very promising at that there as well, is something definitely to look forward to. So let me know of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your initial reaction and your overall thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars, and thanks so much for watching today's video. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.